Marcus Vega's wrists ached as the cold metal cuffs dug into his skin, chains rattling with each step as he was marched into the blinding light of the Grother Arena. He had heard stories of this place during his long, painful journey through the stars of the massive stadium built into a crater, carved by ancient war machines, now used by alien warlords as a playground of death and entertainment. The crowd roared above him, a sea of claws, fangs, and glowing eyes from every corner of the galaxy, gathered to see yet another human fall. But Marcus wasn't like the others who came before. He wasn't a soldier, a warrior, or even a fighter. He was an engineer, a man who built machines back on Earth, but right now, that didn't matter. What mattered was that he was about to face something bred for only one purpose: killing. Above him, on a towering throne made of bones and black steel, sat Warlord Threxel the Bone-Fanged, his 4 eyes fixed on Marcus, his thick, armor-plated tail twitching with anticipation. His voice, deep and layered with growls, echoed through the arena's speakers as he leaned forward and snarled in perfect translation, "Kneel, human, or my alien beast will rip you apart." The crowd cheered wildly, stomping and chanting in languages Marcus couldn't understand, but he didn't flinch. He didn't kneel. His heart pounded in his chest, sweat rolled down his back, but he stood tall, squinting against the sunlight as the great metal gates at the far end of the arena groaned open. From the darkness beyond, a sound emerged, a low, rumbling growl that seemed to shake the ground itself, and then the beast stepped forward. Towering at nearly 3 times Marcus's height, its body was covered in black, armored scales, eyes glowing yellow with rage, and massive jaws dripping with green saliva that hissed like acid when it hit the sand. Around its neck was a thick collar with blinking red lights, a control device, no doubt, but Marcus knew those didn't always work the way they were supposed to. He backed away slowly, scanning the arena, noting every crack in the stone, every piece of broken weaponry half buried in the sand, anything that could be used. He didn't have strength, but he had something else. Hidden under his skin, behind his right ear, was a small chip Athena, a banned experimental AI he had helped design back on Earth before being captured. It had gone dormant after he was taken, but now, with a flick of thought and a whispered word, "Athena, activate," he felt a slight pulse in his skull. A calm female voice answered inside his mind, online. Scanning threat. Suddenly, the world seemed to slow. The beast charged, and Athena highlighted its movements, predicted its path, marked weak points in its thick armor. Marcus rolled to the side, barely avoiding its claws, sand flying up as the ground cracked from the beast's weight. He scrambled toward a nearby skeleton, what looked like a fallen alien gladiator, and yanked a metal shard from its ribcage, holding it like a dagger. It wasn't much, but it was sharp. The beast turned, bellowed, and came at him again. "Left leg is injured," Athena said. "Strike tendon." He dove low and slashed, and the beast howled, stumbling for the first time. The crowd gasped, surprised. This human wasn't running, he was fighting back. Marcus didn't stop. He ran beneath the beast, rolled, and jammed the shard into a soft patch under its armpit. The monster shrieked, flailing wildly. The collar on its neck sparked someone in the control room was trying to force it back into submission. That's when Marcus saw it, a faint flicker in the wall, a control panel buried behind a false stone slab. Athena confirmed it. Control relay detected. 10 meters. Marcus made a decision: he couldn't win this by stabbing. He had to shut down the beast completely. Dodging another swipe, he sprinted for the wall, throwing himself behind the panel. Inside was a nest of alien wires, glowing blue and purple. "Allow me," Athena said, guiding his hands. With fingers moving faster than thought, Marcus twisted wires, rerouted circuits, and suddenly the collar on the beast's neck blinked, then turned green. The beast froze. It stood still, breathing heavily, and stared at him. Threxel rose from his throne, roaring in rage, shouting something in his native tongue as the crowd erupted into chaos. Marcus turned slowly and walked toward the beast, placing a hand on its snout. It didn't move. He had done it, tamed it, or at least confused it long enough to survive. "Impressive," Athena whispered. "But he won't let you live after this." Marcus looked up at the furious warlord above and raised his voice so the crowd could hear him. I'm not your toy, Threxel. I'm not your prey. This arena belongs to no one anymore. The arena, stunned into silence, watched the human and the beast stand side by side, both still breathing, both alive, and both no longer playing by the rules. For a long moment, nothing moved in the arena of Growther, not the alien beast that had been moments away from killing Marcus, not the stunned crowd, not even Warlord Threxel, whose glowing red eyes were locked on the human below. Marcus could hear his own breathing as he kept one hand on the beast's snout, feeling the slow, heavy breath of the creature beneath his palm. It was no longer growling, no longer snarling, it was watching him. Confused. Maybe even waiting. Athena's voice buzzed quietly in his mind, still analyzing. Neural link remains stable. You've overridden the primary control signal. Temporary command achieved. Marcus didn't fully understand the science behind it. It had been years since he worked on Athena's code, but he knew one thing. He had just done something no other species in the galaxy had managed before. He had stopped the beast without force. He had hacked it. The silence shattered as Threxel raised his clawed hand and pointed straight at Marcus. Destroy him! He roared. Massive gates opened across the arena floor, and Marcus barely had time to react before two more beasts thundered into the ring, slightly smaller than the first, but faster, leaner, with sleek bodies and glowing red implants in their skulls. They charged without hesitation, and the crowd roared back to life. Marcus turned and shouted, Athena, can we do it again? She replied instantly, negative. These beasts are on a different frequency. Attempting to crack signal now. That meant he was on his own for at least a few more seconds. The first beast, the one he'd already disabled, growled low, eyes tracking the newcomers. It stepped forward, muscles tense, and before Marcus could stop it, it lunged, intercepting the first attacker mid-sprint. The clash was like two meteors colliding, flesh, bone, and metal slamming together. The sand exploded beneath their feet. Marcus was nearly knocked off his own as he turned to face the second one, grabbing a broken spear from the ground. Athena, now would be a good time, he muttered. Working, she replied. The second beast was closing in fast, claws out, mouth wide, and Marcus knew he couldn't match its strength. So he didn't try. He rolled to the side, then grabbed a handful of loose wiring from the wall panel he had hacked earlier. The spear he carried wasn't powered, but maybe that didn't matter. With a flash of instinct, he wrapped the wire around the spearhead and jammed the other end into a pulsing energy node behind him. The spear sparked to life, glowing blue for a split second just as the beast leapt. Marcus turned and thrust upward, jamming the glowing spear into the soft flesh beneath the beast's jaw. Electricity surged through its body, and it shrieked, twisting in midair and slamming into the sand in a burning heap. Smoke rose. One beast down. The first beast, Marcus's beast, was still fighting the other, slashing and biting like it had a personal grudge. They fight over dominance, Athena said. Yours believes it serves you. That one is a rival. Marcus was breathing hard now, bruised, scraped, his clothes torn, but he couldn't take his eyes off the battle. The two monsters collided again and again, until finally his beast slammed the other to the ground and roared into the sky. The crowd had stopped cheering. It was watching, waiting, confused. No one knew what to make of what they had just seen. Marcus had survived again. Threxel stood slowly, lips curled in a growl, his claws tapping against the metal of his throne. You should be dead, he spat, voice shaking with fury. You are a human. You are nothing. But Marcus, covered in sweat, ash, and blood, looked up at him and smiled. You keep thinking that. It's not working out well for you. The warlord slammed his fist down, and the arena floor began to shake. Doors opened along the outer wall, not for beasts, this time, but for guards. Dozens of armored Grothari soldiers, holding electrified spears and net cannons, marched toward Marcus. He looked at his beast, now panting but alert, standing between him and the soldiers. Athena, Marcus whispered. Can we take them? She answered calmly. Not here. But I've intercepted something. There are others below the arena. Prisoners. Rebels. And they've just seen everything you did. Marcus blinked. What? Athena continued. They've been watching. Waiting for a sign. You just gave it to them. At that moment, hidden doors in the sand burst open, and figures alien prisoners, rough and scarred, armed with scavenged tools and fire in their eyes, poured into the arena from below. The crowd screamed in panic. The guards turned to face the unexpected wave. And Marcus, standing at the center of it all, realized something. He wasn't just a survivor anymore. He was the start of something much bigger, the first crack in Threxel's empire. And with a beast at his side, fire at his back, and rebels rising all around him, he knew one thing for sure: this fight was just beginning. Smoke filled the arena as shouts, howls, and weapons clashing echoed through the great stone bowl of Grother, once a place of sport and death, now a battlefield in the making. Marcus stood in the middle of it all, bloodied and tired but still alive, with his tamed alien beast at his side like a living shadow of war. The rebels who had surged up from the underbelly of the arena, creatures of every shape, size, and species, fought with desperation and fury, their weapons crude but their cause strong. For them, this was not just an uprising, it was a final chance to break free from chains they had worn for years. And they weren't fighting for a crown or a flag. They were fighting because they had seen a human do the impossible. Now, they believed it could be done again. Marcus, trying to catch his breath, ducked behind a shattered stone pillar as a Grothari guard fired a shock lance at him. The blast missed by inches, slicing a molten line through the rock. His beast leapt over the rubble and crushed the soldier in a single strike. "We can't hold this ground forever," Athena warned in his mind, her tone calm but urgent. "We need to move underground, is where the resistance is strongest." A tall, bird-like alien with feathered arms and a scarred face landed beside Marcus, her eyes sharp and golden. "Name's Kira," she said quickly. "You've caused a real mess, human. We've been waiting for a spark. Didn't think it'd come from you." She tossed him a small blaster salvaged from a dead guard. "Come on. This way. The tide's turning, and we're taking you with us." Marcus didn't argue. With Kira leading the way and his beast watching his back, he followed her through a hidden tunnel carved under the arena floor, past steaming pipes and flickering lights. More rebels joined them along the path, nodding at Marcus with quiet respect. He had no rank, no alien blood, no armor, but they treated him like someone who had changed the rules of the galaxy. Deep beneath the arena, past sealed doors and booby-trapped halls, they reached a large underground chamber, a hidden base full of makeshift tech, old weapons, and battle plans drawn on the walls in glowing alien ink. There, Kira explained everything. The arena was only the surface, a distraction from the real machine below it, a prison world turned research lab, where Threxel experimented on prisoners, turning beasts into weapons and rebels into test subjects. "We tried to fight once before," Kira said, showing Marcus a map lit with red marks. "We failed. But you didn't just survive, you bent the system. You broke the beast chain. If we can do that to the rest, we can turn the whole system upside down." Marcus sat on a broken crate, trying to process it all. He was an engineer, not a hero. He had no training in war, no plan to lead anything. But the look in Kira's eyes and the quiet strength in the crowd around him told him he might not have a choice. "Athena," he whispered, "can we actually do this?" Her answer was simple: with enough time and enough firepower, yes. But Threxel will come. He won't stop until he buries this place. Right on cue, the base shook. Explosions echoed above. The warlord had begun his counterattack. Kira and the others scrambled to ready defenses. "He's bringing in kill drones," she shouted. "We have 5 minutes at best." Marcus stood, mind racing. "How do you control the beasts?" he asked. Kira looked confused. "The control collars? Why?" "Because," Marcus said, eyes narrowing, "if we can rewrite the code in the collars, we don't need to fight his beasts. We can use them." The room fell silent, the idea wild but possible. Marcus held up his wrist, revealing a pulse of blue light from his implant. Athena can do it, but I'll need to get to the relay station. It's topside. Kira hesitated only a moment, then nodded. Then we go together. The rebels moved fast, gathering what gear they could. As Marcus climbed back through the tunnels toward the surface, he knew they were outnumbered, outgunned, and running out of time. But he also knew this Threxel had built an empire of control, using fear and beasts and blood to keep it alive. And now, one of those beasts walked beside Marcus, tamed by thought, not chains. He smiled grimly as the light of the upper tunnels spilled over him. The rebellion had begun, and they weren't going to fight like slaves. They were going to fight like humans. And that meant they'd fight smart. The sun was low in the alien sky as Marcus, Kira, and the rebels emerged from the underground tunnels into the ruined edge of the Grother Arena, now a battleground of fire and smoke. All around them, the once proud structure was falling apart, columns crumbling, walls cracked, and the remains of Threxel's soldiers scattered across the sand like broken puppets. In the sky above, black drones circled like vultures, scanning for heat signatures and movement, and the sounds of heavy footsteps echoed in the distance, more beasts, still under Threxel's control, being brought in to finish the job. Marcus held his breath, keeping low behind shattered stone, while Athena guided him forward. The control relay is just ahead, she said in his mind. Top level of the West Tower. It's guarded. Kira leaned in beside him, her feathers stained with dust and blood. We'll clear a path. You just do what you came to do. With a nod, Marcus and a handful of rebels sprinted through the broken archways, dodging rubble and pulse fire as Grothari elites tried to hold the tower. Marcus's beast, still nameless, still terrifying, charged ahead, crashing through defenses with its thick armored hide and glowing yellow eyes. The enemy had never seen anything like it, a weapon turned against its master, and they fell back in fear as it let out a deafening roar. Marcus reached the tower entrance and began climbing fast, 2 steps at a time, while Athena whispered directions and data into his ear. 30 seconds to relay core. Prepare to upload override. Explosions shook the structure as Kira and the rebels fought below, holding off another wave of guards. As he reached the top floor, Marcus kicked open the control room door and stepped into a chamber of blinking lights, glowing screens, and one massive console wired directly into the collars of every beast in the arena. I'm in, he said aloud. Do it. Athena's voice became more focused. Connecting. Bypassing encryption. Redirecting core protocol. The screen flickered, showing the faces of the beasts, their vitals, their commands, their chains. Marcus's hands flew across the console, guided by Athena's knowledge and his own muscle memory, cutting through layers of alien code, until finally, the main screen blinked green. Control matrix disabled, Athena confirmed. You now hold command over Threxel's entire beast force. Marcus exhaled in disbelief. He had done it. But before he could even turn to leave, the glass window behind him shattered, and a blur of dark metal slammed into the room. Warlord Threxel himself, crashing through like a meteor, armored in blood-red plates and wielding a long electrified chain. His face twisted with rage, fangs bared. He roared, "You dare take what is mine?" Marcus barely rolled aside as the chain cracked the floor where he had stood. Sparks flew. He scrambled for cover, but Threxel was fast, swinging the weapon like a whip, smashing consoles and walls in a frenzy of fury. "Athena," Marcus gasped, crawling behind the main terminal. "Anything I can use?" She answered quickly. "There's an emergency override rod behind the panel, hot enough to burn through his armor, if you get close." Marcus grabbed the rod, a metal bar glowing with internal heat, and turned just in time to block another strike. The chain wrapped around his arm, burning his skin, but he held on, screamed through the pain, and surged forward, jamming the rod deep into Threxel's side. The warlord howled, armor cracking, smoke rising from his ribs. Marcus pushed harder, eyes blazing, until the great warlord stumbled back, arms shaking, knees buckling. "You were never a god," Marcus said coldly. "You were just another tyrant who didn't think we'd fight back." And with a final cry, Threxel collapsed, smoke pouring from his body. The warlord of Grother was dead. Outside, the last of his beasts stopped mid-charge, confused and waiting. Marcus, bleeding and coughing, sent the signal. Athena pulsed it through every collar, and in moments the battlefield turned. The beasts roared, but this time, not in rage and freedom. They turned on the remaining guards, crushing what was left of the old rule. Kira rushed up the tower to find Marcus slumped against the wall, barely conscious but smiling. "It's done," he whispered. "They're free." She knelt beside him and nodded. "You just ended a reign that lasted 50 years. Below, the rebels cheered. The arena of death had become the cradle of revolution. And Marcus Vega, the human who wasn't meant to survive a single round, had brought down the Beastmaster with nothing but his mind, his courage, and the belief that control could always be broken.